Hey guys, GHAZZY TV here with another Path of Exile video. In this one, we're going to be recapping the 3.14 Ultimatum League Start. Well, League Start, whatever you want to call it. My League Starter build and my take on the League mechanic and a few other topics such as Harvest and a few other things. So let's just crack into it. The League Start was a disaster. It was the worst league start I have ever experienced in my 7+ years of streaming Path of Exile. And there was a lot of issues ranging from streamer queue priority to server issues, queue times, and the whole shenanigans. And it was just a shit show from start to finish. On the other hand, just a quick note on that, when it comes to like the streamer queue priority, there are different point of views to take into consideration because people seem to be very fast at jumping the gun, sort of like the Reddit meta. One aspect of it is that they invested a lot of money into sponsoring streamers to play it, and they made sure that they actually got to play it, and that would be unfair to other streamers. So they let other streamers in, that would be unfair to the rest of the player base, and it was just decisions made in a really panicky situation. That would be their defense. I would argue for the fact that it was still shit, and I believe that they should have resetted the entire league after their sponsor streamers were done streaming, or done with their sponsored segment, so that they got to show the game. And I would really have preferred them to reset the entire league. The problem was that the league wasn't fixed until the morning after for us in the CEST time zone. The problem with resetting the league is that not resetting it just made some people a little bit annoyed with it. But resetting the league after an entire day, the people that did power through the DC, the server issues, the queue times and everything, all of their progress would be reset. And people have to realize that there are people with jobs and that don't have the time or possibility to take off a week from work for a league release. Which means that there are some people that only had this specific weekend to push the content, and resetting the league would be very, 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 very disastrous for those people to lose whatever little progress they had during that time. So I think that they made a good decision in not resetting it, for the simple fact that not resetting it made a lot of people, including myself, annoyed. But I also believe that if they did reset it, that would actually make a lot of people angry. So it's, again, one of those things similar to the streamer queue priority, where you have to look at it from different perspectives and go from there. Either way, the decision has been made, and it has resulted in this being the worst league start we have ever experienced in the history of Path of Exile, at least from my point of view and my experiences. So moving on from the league start, I have been playing with the new abilities, Exsanguinate and Reap. I actually had a disastrous leveling process up to level 28. Don't do that. My recommendation would be to mule a Ranger for the Pierce and Caustic Arrow and level with that till 28, because once you enable spell slinging with this build, which I made a video on before the league start, it is actually absolutely amazing. However, once you get to the yellow tier maps, the spell slinging, or blood slinging as I coined it, lacks a lot of single targets. So I decided to do what we do with slinging builds when it comes to these things, and that is opt over to self-casting. And I'm doing self-casting Exsanguinate right now, and it's actually doing very, very well. We are level 88, progressing towards red tier maps. As soon as I'm done testing everything with this build, I will of course make a build guide for this here on the YouTube channel, so stay tuned for that. Other than that, a few things that has been happening. I will mention some good things first. Stacks of chaos, for example. If you want to split them one by one, in the past you had to hold down shift and left click, press enter, and stack it like this. They made it possible, so if you're hovering a currency orb and you're holding down shift, you can just left click it and it will place one of that stack, which is honestly, for someone who mass purchases a lot of currency orbs or crafting materials, I love this change. It's like one of the best quality of life things I have ever seen, on top of the fragment tab changes they made for the different general breaches and scarabs, including room for winged scarabs and the higher tier of breach stuffs. Absolutely amazing. What I didn't understand is that the Veiled Chaos Orb doesn't have any room in the currency tab. So there's, it's not perfect, but it's getting there. Other good things is that the Ultimatum league mechanic is extremely challenging. and I love it. There's very few variations to it, but as you go up in higher tier maps, you go through several layers of it. There's a few mechanics around it. I'm not going to do a guide on it because it's very straightforward, but I will say that it is extremely, extremely tough, and they do a lot of damage. The only problem with this is two things. One is that most of the leagues that GHAZZY gives us is that they provide us with a way to interact with a league mechanic during the campaign. And from my experience, interacting with Ultimatum during the campaign was pretty much a one-way ticket to Resurrect in town. They do so much damage, it's insane. So I actually ignored doing them till I started doing maps, and now it's actually really enjoyable. The other aspect of it is that I think that they are so challenging, which I absolutely adore, that I believe Reddit was going to start bitching about them, and I think that because of a result of that GHAZZY might actually nerf them, and I really hope they're not going to do it, because I really like the idea of this being mega challenging. The other problem with Ultimatum, in my opinion, is that it's a league that was released back-to-back to Ritual, because in my opinion, Ritual going core is terrible, and Ultimatum is basically, from my perspective, what Ritual should have been. I did Ritual a bit in the start of the league, and then I completely ignored Ritual for the rest of the league. I know there's a lot of rewards and good rewards from it. It was just so boring, and there was no challenge in doing it. It's just absolutely dull. Whereas Ultimatum provides a really good reward structure, as well as a challenge to do. It's basically Ritual 2.0. I know there's a lot of jokes going around with that, but it really is Ritual 2.0. So I hope that after this league, that Ritual is going to get completely removed from the game, and that Ultimatum will take its place as a core mechanic. That's my hopes. If you guys want that as well, let me know in the comments below. Or if you think that I'm completely retarded saying these things, let me know in the comments below as well. A few other things to mention in this recap video is the Harvest nerfs. Now, I have a ton of crafting guides, and there's a link in the description below to my crafting guides, which I definitely would recommend checking out, which it will help anyone of any skill level be able to craft with the post-harvest nerfs. The harvest plots that we've seen have been absolutely dog shit. It's so disappointing, and the fact that Sana modifiers on the map device is going to force you to pay 12 chaos for it feels really, really, really bad. It's so terrible. I don't know, it feels like they already stripped off the power. Like, I personally was hoping that Harvest would never go to the core mechanic, but I also believe that Harvest is really good for the casual players, and I was hoping that they would keep it for the quality of the game for all players, not just what I personally would have wanted. So I'm one of the people advocating for keeping Harvest, but the way they treated Harvest, I don't even know if it's legal. It's terrible, absolutely terrible to witness. I mean, it's like forcing people to not drink clean water. Other than that, Petrified Blood is something I wanted to talk about as well. The Petrified Blood is one of the new blood skills. I'll show you here in the game. It has been a very, very cool mechanic. Petrified Blood basically cuts your HP in half. The only way to go above half HP is with life flasks, but if you have more than 50% HP, then your skills will gain a base life cost equal to 40% of the base mana cost of the skill when you're not on low life, which is 50%. So that's a really cool mechanic to get your EHP to really crazy numbers. Because what Petrified Blood does is that when you take a damage hit, 40% of that damage is mitigated, but you only take a percent. In this case, with my level 20 gem, 80% of that damage is then taken as a life loss degen for the next 4 seconds, which can be counteracted with leech mechanics or life regen mechanics, essentially making you block out 40% of all damage taken without really affecting your HP pool, as long as you're keeping your HP above low life through the use of flasks. The other aspect of it is the way I'm playing with it, and that is actually reserving my HP. In this case, I am reserving a grand total of 56.7% of my HP. so that I'm always on low life, and this allows me to have pain attunement consistently active no matter if I'm using my life flask, because if I lose HP, which I can show you here, actually I'm not even spending enough mana to counteract the region, but if I spend HP, I can use a life flask and I'll go actually up in full HP, which allows me to use panic flask instead of seething flask to get that HP up, which is a really cool mechanic. The problem with this though is that because GHAZZY for some reason refuses to move debuffs that is up here, down here next to the life bar, is very hard to spot when you have this low HP pool to see if I'm actually taking damage or not. I actually literally have to look at the bar in front of me here, or which is covered by energy shield for the most part, or I have to look down here, and if I'm taking damage over time, I then have to look up here to see if I'm taking damage over time from an ignite, or from chaos dot, or from staunch, or from a bleed effect, or corrupted blood. I have no idea. So basically, the build's playstyle in this style, or with this way I'm playing it, consists of me spamming my flasks consistently. That includes the life flask. And it's a bit weird. And I've died a couple of times, well, a lot of times from this, from not knowing that I'm taking damage. Because when this bubble is filled and you lose half your HP, you will see that your life is half very clearly at the corner of your eye. You will see on the bar here that your HP went from full to half. But you have this much HP, it's very hard to see if you take in 20% of your total life pool, or if you're down to 50% of your life pool. It's really hard to spot. I'm not sure how they can visualize this better, or if they had this if this was an intended way to play it. I'm not sure, but that's like one of the only problems I have with the ability. Other than that, Petrified Blood when leveling has been crazy good for defenses. Certain bosses like General Gravy Sauce in Act 3, it's one of the bosses that literally one-shots you with a shotguns, kills you with the flame throwing shit, the meteors. But with Petrified Blood, I was actually face tanking him from start to finish. It was pretty crazy to see the amount of defense you get from it. I do believe that's it. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm just going to ask you guys to let me know in the comments below what you guys think about the league start and the different things you've seen in the league. I know we didn't mention too much of the different league rework rewards, but again, I want to keep the video somewhat short. Hit the like button, subscribe for more content. Until next time, boys, stay safe and keep fucking rocking.